Hello, class, and welcome to week 3 of BACC 531 Managerial Accounting. Hope that each of you are doing well and that your Monday and your week is off to a great start so far. This week, as we enter week 3 of our content for managerial accounting, we're going to be exploring and examining content related to chapters 4 and 5 of our course textbook. Chapter 4 will examine on an in-depth basis activity-based costing and related concepts, while chapter 5 will explore process costing and the relevance of process costing systems to business organizations. Activity-based costing is the culmination of seeking to use overhead allocation systems in a way that best balances the need to comply with the cost-benefit constraint, that overarching constraint in accounting we talked about last week, that reminds us that if something costs us more than the benefit of the information received from it, it doesn't generally make sense to do it. Activity-based costing is an effort to balance between that constraint as well as the desire for the most accurate and the most detailed information possible in determining product cost. Thus, activity-based costing is going to be a cost allocation system, particularly for overhead, the third component of manufacturing cost that we've talked about. Remember, the first component is direct materials, the second is direct labor, and the third, constituting the indirect costs of manufacturing, is going to be manufacturing overhead. We talked last week about the plant-wide rate method and the multiple plant-wide rate, also called the departmental rate methods. Those methods are essentially developing one estimated rate that applies either to an entire manufacturing unit, such as a given plant, or applies to particular departments or divisions of a business enterprise. Activity-based costing will seek to take overhead allocation to the next level by attributing, organizing, and breaking overhead costs down not according to departments or according to organizational units, but according to actual activities and processes that take place within the business organization and for manufacturers within the manufacturing process itself. As we'll also explore together, however, activity-based costing not only has relevance to manufacturing entities, it also can have relevance and important applications and helpful benefits in many cases in the context of even not-for-profit entities, such as healthcare organizations that have complex costing needs and complex costing systems. In Chapter 5, we'll take a look at another approach to accumulating, tracking, and analyzing costs in manufacturing settings, and this is what we will come to know as process costing. Last week, we took a look at something called job order costing, which is dealing primarily with highly customized, individualized batches or units of products that are being manufactured according to customer specifications. In those systems, we accumulate all of the product costs according to individual jobs or an individual order placed by a customer. Thus, for each job, the individual job's direct materials, direct labor, and allocated overhead will be accumulated to determine first the total job cost and then the product cost for each unit of product within the job. When it comes to process costing systems, these systems are most appropriate when we're dealing with large continuous manufacturing processes that deal with largely homogeneous or similar products. A job order system would be appropriate in a situation where you're placing orders for customized things, such as, for example, a customized acoustic guitar. In some cases, even a customized vehicle or custom ordered furniture would all be great examples where a job order system would be more appropriate. In a process costing system, these systems are going to be most appropriate to looking at continuous or close to continuous manufacturing settings where they're making large volumes of essentially the same product. Think, for example, laundry detergent, Hershey bars, and other types of things where you're looking at different types of Hershey bars if they're at least from the same basic product line. I know that there's different varieties and different categories of Hershey bars, but for the most part, for any given line of a Hershey bar, one Hershey bar should be similar to another Hershey bar. As one of my students years ago humorously pointed out in an undergraduate cost accounting class, if you have two Hershey bars of the same size and from the same product line, and they're not homogeneous, they're not the same, you don't have customization, you have a quality problem at that point. Thus, for those types of manufacturing settings, Process costing is not going to be accumulating costs, again, those same three familiar manufacturing costs, according to individual jobs, but rather according to different processes, different sequences, steps within the overall manufacturing process. Those process costing systems will accumulate costs, for example, for a mixing department, costs for a packaging department, costs for a processing or a stamping or a welding department, as the case may be, just depending upon the manufacturing setting you're in. Process costing systems will accumulate those costs and track them according to individual processes. As we get into these chapters, chapter 4 will enable you to understand the basic approaches to activity based costing and how it differs from conventional costing systems. You'll also learn in chapter 4 to compute activity rates for an activity based costing system, to compute product costs using activity based costing, and to contrast the product costs computed under activity based costing and conventional or with conventional costing methods. For Chapter 5, examining process costing, you'll learn to record the flow of materials, labor, and overhead through a process costing system. In addition, you'll also learn how to compute the equivalent units of production using the weighted average method, to compute the cost per equivalent unit using the weighted average method, and to assign cost to units using the weighted average method. You'll also learn to prepare a cost reconciliation report using the weighted average method as well. If you're noticing a theme, much of your objectives in terms of learning in Chapter 5 will focus on applications, implications of, and strategies related to the weighted average approach to dealing with process costing systems. As you explore content for this week, you have three key assignments that will be due. The first of those will be your week 3 reading assignment. You will also have your week 3 lecture video quiz and your week 3 exercises. All of those will be completed in Connect. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out and I'll be glad to help you. You can reach me at jake.brock@ucumberlands.edu, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. With that, I want to thank each of you for watching and wish you a fantastic week ahead.